I'm Brian Pelfrey, and this is my wife, Sarah. We have a 14-year-old son named Dane, and a little over 2.5 years ago, we adopted our daughter, Tristan, and our son, Shane. And Tristan is now 7, and Shane is now 5.
And we adopted Tristan and Shane when they were 2 and 4 years old, and we have been blessed by them in many ways.
Several years ago, Sarah and I were part of a mentoring program through Miamisburg City Schools, and that's where we met a little boy named Michael. And Michael, through a series of circumstances, needed a place to live, and he lived with us 2 different times over the course of a little over a year.
And after Michael lived with us, we began to see a huge need for children who do not have homes and do not have families to go to. And so we went to an adoption conference one January, and when we left that day, we really felt like God was leading us to adopt through the foster care system. And that began an amazing journey.
Hey there, Apex. We're Daniel and Abby Garman. We've been married for 7 years, and God has blessed us with 3 wonderful boys. The past 2 years, we've been on the process of adopting a baby girl from Ethiopia.
When our youngest was about 6 months old, we really felt like God was telling us that we needed to just start researching adoption, just really trying to figure out what God had for us. He led us to Ethiopia.
Right now, we're currently waitlisted with our agency, so we're basically waiting for other people to process their adoptions until it's our turn, and we get our referral for the baby girl that we're going to end up with.
My name's Dan.
And I'm Martha. Dan and I were both adopted as infants. Growing up being adopted was very normal, and our parents both, they told us, and we knew from the very beginning.
I can't remember not knowing.
Yeah. My mom actually, she has a poem that she always had hanging in my room, and it was, "Not flesh of my flesh, nor bone of my bone, but still miraculously my own. Never forget for a single minute, you didn't grow under my heart, but in it." There's no difference of an adopted parent and a biological parent. You're still loved the same way, and you're still part of God's plan and how He plans your parents for you and where you're to go. And, just like with us, He allowed my dad to do his home study because, we were supposed to get married and we were supposed to be a family together. So it's really cool.
Hey Apex, my name is Steve, and my adoption story starts at the age of 7. I had no idea that I was about to enter into such a beautiful family and have people that love me in a way that I had never known. The whole process and the concept of adoption was really strange to me because I had no concept of a father, and I had no concept of family, and the fact that a family would want me to join them and bear their name, live with them, and they live with me was really odd. Why he had nothing in common with me. He didn't know who I was, but still he desired to have a relationship with me and call me his son was a pretty amazing feeling.
I was in the middle of getting my master's, and I got really bored of writing my paper, so I decided to look at pictures of children online. And I saw these 2 beautiful children named Tristan and Shane, and felt like those were going to be my children, which is really crazy to think about. But I went to my husband and I said, I think that these kids might be our kids.
From seeing the kids on the website, we, like Sarah said, really started praying, really felt like they were going to be our kids, but also kind of felt that was weird. And we began really praying, and we found out that there was a lot of families. There was 200 families that wanted to adopt these kids, and we kind of felt like, well, God, it's in your hands. We just trust you. And over the course of time, we would get phone calls that it was narrowed down a little bit lower and a little bit lower.
And when we received the phone call that we would adopt these children, it was definitely very surreal because of the process we had been through. I remember even just having fears of telling people how much those kids were on my heart and how much I really wanted to be their mother. And God really taught me about being real and opened and sharing that journey with other people, even though it was a scary journey, even though it was a journey that was a very up and down journey and crazy in a lot of ways to the world. God really showed me that it was important to allow other people to walk the journey with us. And in the end, they were able to celebrate that journey and celebrate that we would parent these children and that these children would forever bless our lives.
One thing that I know that I've been asked a handful of times, at least, is obviously you guys have 3 boys, don't have any problems getting pregnant. Why are you guys going through the adoption process? And honestly, it's just something that we felt called to for quite a while for a lot of different reasons.
It all comes down to the fact that this is where God has led us. This is where God has our hearts. And, at this point, I can just look at anyone that asks and say, our daughter is in Ethiopia. She's mine. She's just as much mine as the little boys that I gave birth to. She's a gift from God. And even though she's not here yet, and that's really hard for people to understand, this is where God has called us. And this is where God, in his plan, has chosen for our next child to come from.
The reason for our parents adopting was infertility issues, and we were actually going through a time we had 2 early miscarriages, and seeing what our parents were going through and wondering if are we going to not be able to have a biological child. And as we were going through that, we found out that we were pregnant for a 3rd time, and we're actually 19 weeks now. It's just really exciting for us because not only do we still want to adopt, but we're going to be able to integrate both our biological children and adopted children into our family.
Just another opportunity just to share what adoption has meant in our lives and to be able to merge that into now hopefully a biological side as well, and see that there is no difference, and it's all one family.
When you're a kid, you get scared or you're skeptical about things, and so often I would think that he didn't have my best interest in mind because he's not my father, he's not my true father, and he doesn't know what's best for me. I would run away, I would pull away, I would disobey, I would do so many things just out of my selfish desires. He always pursued me, and he always came after me.